Hello and welcome to everyone. I am Sarah Haddon, publisher of Corporate Compliance Insights, and delighted to have you here today to discuss the Human Firewall. We are transforming employee behavior to prevent phishing. And I have with me today two experts from LRN, two subject matter experts about phishing. They are both compliance and ethics executives. Please welcome Monica Gallagher and Mark DeRoche.
Pleasure to be here, Sarah. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited that we're talking about phishing. Phishing to me is just it's just objectively an interesting topic. And the three of us have been discussing this for weeks. It's funny when it comes to compliance and compliance topics, so often they're kind of abstract, like money laundering. I'm not currently involved in any money laundering.
I hope not.
So CCI is not currently bribing any foreign officials, but I do have an inbox and I do have this steady drumbeat of people that want me to click on things and give them information I shouldn't be giving them. And I occasionally almost fall for these. What is it about phishing emails? What is it that makes them so diabolical, so tricky?
Diabolical. I love that word.
Mm.
So, look, phishing, we often think of hackers and complex
Yeah.
offshore operations like something out of a James Bond movie. But the reality is that the reason phishing is such a large threat is it's so simple. It's not technologically advanced. And in essence, you're looking at a very small team to be able to run a phishing attack that can have a devastating impact on the reputation of an organization, also the financials of the company. And what phishing attacks do, though, is that they really hone in on the fact that we're all busy today, just like yourself, Sarah, and that tendency that is so human to click without pausing. And when you don't get it right, that simple click can have some pretty big ramifications. So it's a really exciting topic to be exploring, especially in the context of how it impacts compliance, folks.
It certainly is. You made the point that it's simple to set up a phishing email if you yourself are the bad actor. But it's interesting. I think thwarting it is maybe not so simple. And I was having a conversation just the other day. I had gone out to dinner. I was in Nashville with three or four chief compliance officers, and I brought up the topic of phishing because I knew this program was coming up. And they all said, "Oh, we have nothing to do with that. The CISO handles that." No, the information security, they won't let us do the phishing thing. That only they can do it. Only they can set up the fake phishing emails. And I have a feeling we're going to turn that idea on its head. But I did want to mention about our audience today. When we were planning this presentation, we assumed, the three of us, that our audience would be primarily professionals from information security. That, in fact, is not the case. And I'm addressing the audience now. You are coming to us from all over the world, and most of you, about 65-70%, are compliance and risk professionals. So this says to me that compliance cares very deeply about thwarting phishing. It's not the CISO's job necessarily. Why should compliance care about
Well, wouldn't it be lovely if it was just the CISO's responsibility? We could say, hey, you take care of cybersecurity,
Mhm.
I'll do my thing, and the responsibility will end there. But in practice, it's far more nuanced. And I think, if you start as a compliance officer looking at your regulators, the SEC, the DOJ, FTC, European data protection over for our friends in Europe, they all expect companies to have effective controls and training in place to minimize cyber risk. And then when you look through at those compliance breaches, when they do happen, whether it's under GDPR, HIPAA, or SOX, often phishing is the root cause as to what was that tipping point, the domino for things going big. But I would go on even further. Like if you look at any company's code of conduct program, everyone here, if you've got compliance in the title, you likely own or heavily influence the code of conduct program for your organization, both in terms of the policies and the training. And you'll see in there, cybersecurity is such a key element of the program. So I think with that remit falling on the chief compliance officer, there's such an opportunity for partnership between the two. And ultimately today, The modern compliance officer is tasked with building the organization's culture
Oh, yes.
and impacting employees' behavior, which is so key when we think about preventing phishing risk.
That
Yeah.
didn't used to be part of the conversation, did it? The notion of behavioral science as applied to compliance. But that's very much
Mm.
a thing now, and it certainly applies here, doesn't it?
I think so. I mean, like this legacy idea that you do your annual training each year, maybe it's your code of conduct, e-learning, everyone checks it off, and then you report
Box.
to your regulators that you've got 95%. That is no longer satisfactory to the
Mm,
business, to the board, or the regulators that you partner with. And I think there's such a greater emphasis on efficacy of programs
mhm.
and showing just in time training. So, Monica, I know this is something you've
Yeah.
been looking at in terms of real time training and happen in the moment. How do you feel that impacts with regard to phishing?
Yes, no, I was going to add the title of our talk today, the Human Firewall, is really what brings all of this to the CISO's doorstep,
Mhm.
right? The CISO is setting up all of these great systems to lock down the information, but we all know that we're the weakest link, and our behavior is connected with this. The CISO is responsible for helping us to do the right thing and ensuring we do the right thing. And that's what brings the CISO really to the forefront of all these conversations around phishing, in addition to the points that Mark made.
I think that makes absolute sense. And it plays too into the notion that we have to break down the silos across the business units. Compliance should be holding hands, not just with information security, but with the other departments as well. We know that the compliance officer's job is always evolving, but this
Mm.
threat is always evolving as well, isn't it? Talk to me, if you would, about the changing landscape of phishing, and
Sure.
especially in this age of generative AI.
Yes.
That little topic of AI. Monica, what do you reckon?
Just a little
Yeah,
topic.
of course. So AI is at the forefront of everything we talk about these days. Whenever you talk about the changing landscape, it's almost code for AI.
Mhm.
It's really raising the bar. It's making it easy for smaller teams of bad actors to create more sophisticated phishing attempts and phishing attacks more quickly. So phishing attacks are happening really at scale now, and requiring less resources and being more sophisticated. They're including, of course, now not only emails that are more sophisticated. Gone are the days when we looked for spelling errors and grammar errors, but
Mm.
also fake voice calls from
Oh,
your CEO, maybe in your CEO's voice, and even video calls that look like your CEO, maybe, or someone you know and trust.
One
right.
term I loved is we've gone from phishing to smishing, which is when you're getting those SMS attacks, like on our cell phones, because they
Oh,
sit in our pocket. We respond to friends. We hear from our banks through them. It's almost like this trusted device where vigilance can come down. So I think it's something that we're seeing across all channels, and the skills that we teach employees to prevent a phishing attack are a critical piece, because you can't teach for every scenario, but instead you're guiding learners on principles. So regardless of whether it comes in from the phone, a video chat, email, they're ready to spot the threat and take action.
that makes sense. That makes sense. You know, what I'm struck with here is the idea that we're always hearing that AI will make us more productive. Isn't it ironic that it's making the hackers and the bad actors more productive as well?
Yeah,
So,
it's an arms race. It's a
yeah,
bit of an arms race.
a good tool, but absolutely in the wrong hands. Well, let's talk a little bit more about why behavior matters, and
Mm.
the human solution. What are some common mistakes or blind spots that organizations have? And I think what I'm doing here is giving you a chance to sort of spear the old school way.
Oh my gosh. There had to be a few puns. It wouldn't be a phishing
Just a little
session
bit.
without throwing them. Look, I think historically we've focused on phishing as that classic CISO's problem, and they absolutely are the key and our first line of defense. But you might want to think of the CISO as being responsible for keeping the doors locked within the organization, so that they're creating that fortress, that wall around. But there are always going to be phishing attacks that get through, those that make their way through the firewall, that are specific to the business, reflect the tools that are used by the organization for day-to-day process. So I think that the keys to effective training, and Monica, you might want to chime in on this, is make it just in time, so that it happens as the learner experiences an issue in the phishing simulation.
Yeah, I don't
Keep
want to get an email the next day saying, oh, by the way,
no.
you weren't supposed to click on that thing. I've moved on. I'm not going to remember, what I've been told. So that just in time bit is key, is it not?
Absolutely. And then keeping it really, really short. I mean, like you will have your annual code of conduct program where we go through the cybersecurity framework, but as risks come up, keep those bites to be 2 to 3 minutes. And then finally, you have to lean on relevance and training that really speaks to the individual's roles. So just a passive experience where you're clicking through slides, that's not going to keep you safe. And when you're looking at potentially billion-dollar implications for larger organizations when something goes wrong,
Yeah,
you
your brain
really want
is
learning that
that.
is realistic and puts you in the role and feels specific to what I do in the organization, whether I'm in finance, whether I'm in business development, whether I'm in engineering. And Monica, anything you'd add to that? You're a resident learning expert.
Yes, the thing I would add, Sarah, I think you were asking about some of the things we're missing and some of the blind spots. I think it's in the afterwards, right. We've done a phishing simulation. We caught some folks. We sent them some training. Maybe a lot of organizations aren't doing that, but a lot of them aren't really looking at the analytics associated. Where are my weak links? What types of phishing attacks is my organization more vulnerable to? Which parts of my organization are more vulnerable
So
to
not
these
just
attacks?
scolding one person in the
No,
moment.
beyond that, we have to look at it holistically, right?
Okay.
Which, what are our vulnerabilities? Which groups and what actions can I take to, again, we talked about it as an arms race, right? I need to keep making this more sophisticated for my employee audience, so to speak, and direct new simulations that are going to address the things that were uncovered in my last campaign.
I
Okay.
think a great
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think a great example of that is, let's compare two audiences. You've got your audit function within a company. They're handling sensitive financial information. They're used to working with a framework as part of their day-to-day role. And then you've got salespeople who may be out on the road, downloading files, interacting with clients. They are prone to different types of phishing attacks based upon the information they handle within the organization. And then also, they have very different learning styles. So I think what Monica talked there about evaluating the phishing risk for different segments of the business, and then tailoring the training to reach each of those groups to help them contribute to the organization's defenses, I think that really is a winning strategy.
And that's something that the compliance officer is going to do, isn't it? And I mean, no disrespect to the CISO, but compliance is accustomed to looking for patterns, looking for trends, thinking about how the different populations within the organization are going to respond. As you said, they're different personalities, they're different exposures. That's something that compliance has always owned. That's something they've always.
Yeah, I think it's almost a trifecta today. You've got the CISO who keeps the doors locked, and then the chief compliance officer who owns training through that annual code of conduct program, but more importantly, responsible for making sure that the culture is sound and the system that people do in their day-to-day jobs. And then the third partner is the GC. Like phishing fallout will happen. I mean, we're looking to mitigate rather than remove risk. So, I think you really want to also be in contact with your general counsel, so that if something does happen, the first time you're not talking about cyber risk and cyber policies is when you're responding to a situation.
Exactly. So we've certainly well established that AI is the problem, but it's also the solution, is it not?
Thank goodness there's an upside.
Exactly.
Monica, give us the good news.
Yes, exactly. So as we've called it an arms race, same thing for us, right? We can create more sophisticated simulations. We can create them more quickly with less resources. They look more real. And they're really can really be tailored for our organizations, the platforms that we use, as well as individuals in our organizations, departments, levels, and things like that. So we can leverage AI to be more sophisticated in our defense, if you will, and in our simulations. And then also in, as we talked about, taking it the next step, right? With AI, we can do what I was sort of describing earlier, get insights from our simulation results so that we make the next campaign more effective. We make the training more effective. And, you know, Mark and I can talk all day about how to do that. And we'll be happy to talk about it another time too, but making the training for phishing defense more effective and making the simulations more effective based on the data we collect in the
You're
prior one.
always optimized.
AI has made that so easy. We don't have to run reports. We don't have to do analysis and run spreadsheets. The insights come right to us, and that tells us how to make things, you know, our defenses better every time.
And isn't that key for optimizing, having data that you can take action on right away?
Yep.
Yeah, it is. I think IBM, they did a snapshot of phishing attacks. So this was just last year. 2 in 5 originated from using AI technologies to generate them. So, you know, when we look at our own defenses, you know, I think we've got to be tapping into those same resources for creating a sophisticated, impactful program. But the good news is, you know, this is accessible. You don't need a degree in data science to make it happen. And, you know, whether you're an organization with 100 employees or a global leader with 100,000, you can today, you know, set up an effective phishing simulation and training campaign that delivers real results to your organization.
This sounds like such a good time to have you do your screen share. Let's queue up the demo so that our users can see how Catalyst phishing actually works.
All right, fantastic. Let's jump in. We are in Catalyst, which is LRN's platform for running everything related to your ethics and compliance program. And for those of you that are familiar with Catalyst, you'll see this new addition, Phishing, LRN's phishing solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through our phishing simulation engine, how to build out campaigns, and then I'm going to hand over to the lovely Monica, who will show you our latest and greatest training in support of the phishing program. So I'm going to click into phishing, and you'll see we jump straight into a really simple, streamlined dashboard that allows you to see how your phishing program is performing for your entire organization worldwide. But before we get into the details of running an individual campaign, let's have a look at some of the assets that it comes with out the box. So I'm going to pop into phishing simulation. Now you'll see here within the phishing simulation, it comes with 16 bundles, which you might want to think of as complete phishing simulations that are ready to go out the box. They cover areas such as credential harvesting, link-based, spear phishing, and we've recently started adding some new assets around attachment-based attacks. And then within these, you'll see you can launch them for many of the common platforms that your organization will be using. We've got various levels of difficulty. We can roll them out in the languages to support your business, and you can see at a glance how many campaigns they're involved in. But let's have a dig into credential harvesting, and we'll go with an Okta attack as our phishing simulation. Monica, remind us what is an example of credential harvesting.
Sure. So credential harvesting is when a fake login page tricks users into sharing their username and password.
Yeah, well, it's pretty impactful when something like that happens. So let's have a go at seeing what's available. So you'll see when we jump straight in here, we've got 3 assets. We've got our phishing email, our landing page, which is used for harvesting the user's credentials, and then our phished page, which shows them that they've fallen into this particular phishing attack and that they need to take action, both in terms of their behavior and taking some remedial training. So we'll jump in, and you can see here is the email that's coming through into my inbox. We've got the Okta logo. The text looks pretty real. There's a nice blue box, all in the correct font and colors. But what should be tipping off your learners is you'll see the sender's name and reply to emails look a little bit odd. Now, of course, you can go in at any stage and you can edit these. So you could go in, you could switch the Okta logo, you could change the text, you could make any number of tweaks that you want to see to this particular package. Discard the changes. So once we've gone through the email, we hit a landing page, which looks super realistic. It's asking me to log in. It'll even pre-populate with any user credentials that are typical, and it's asking you to enter your password. And then there's that trusty keep me signed in button here before I hit next. Again, this is fully editable. If I do fall for the phishing attack, I'm going to be taken to a phish page. And you'll notice here, you took the bait. My first name is going to appear. There's some real meaningful feedback, such as an instruction to always verify URLs, pay attention to what we're clicking, don't share personal information, keep IT in the loop. And again, this is all fully editable, so we can drop in your logo so it feels specific to the company. If there was branded artwork that your IT team used as part of their phishing awareness, you could also feature that there. So fully customizable, everything is ready to go out the box. In practice, we find that most organizations just need to customize the email to reflect this sort of attacks that are coming through into their organization and sneaking through their firewall. But you do have the option of editing that landing page and the phish page. So in addition to these 16 ready-to-go library bundles that we're always adding to and updating, you'll also see My Bundles, which is where you've created your own simulations specific to your organization. So Library Bundles is stock, ready to go, ready for you to make your tweaks. My Bundles are the changes that you've made. And then My Assets shows all the individual materials that you can use to create a phishing simulation. And it's as simple as that. You literally could be ready to go, launching a stock bundle within the first hour of launching LRN's new phishing solution. Making sense for you, Monica?
Sure. Should we talk about the other types of simulations that we have?
Yeah, absolutely. So we focused there on credential harvesting, but for any of you that aren't familiar, just remind us what a link-based attack is, Monica.
Yes, a link-based attack is a malicious link that installs malware on the computer of any user who's tricked into clicking it.
Yeah, and then just remind us, what is a spear phishing attack?
Spear phishing is a highly personalized email that lures the target into replying or taking some other action.
Yeah, and you'll also see we're adding some new ones here around attachment-based attacks. And again, all of this can be customized and made specific to your organization. When I go over to my phishing page, I can see my phishing campaigns that are up and running. So I can see the name of the campaign, and then I get a really simple score around how prone an individual group is to a phishing attack. So if we look here, you can see our product and tech team, they've got 33%, which would indicate we've got some room for improvement and remedial training. Whereas our tech organization in India is scoring a perfect score. We can also see when the campaigns were launched, when they were ended, when they were last modified, and then you'll see here Rajul has been pretty busy and diligent in managing our organization's phishing campaigns. So let's go in and have a go at running and setting up our first phishing campaign. And if it's okay, Monica, I'm going to have a go at phishing you.
Sure. My guard is up. Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, let's call this Monica's phishing simulation. Got those fat fingers today. There we go. There we go. And then this could be check Monica's performance. Now, obviously, you would be sending it to a user group, but we're just using this one as an example. And out the gate here, I've got some options. I can send a one-time campaign, or I can schedule them to run every 2 weeks, in which case I would need to put in an end date. And it'll also tell me how many times the phishing campaign is going to run based upon that end date. But for today's purpose, let's just do a quick one-time campaign. So when I go into my organization, I've been having a problem with credential harvesting. And then it's going to give me the option to go through. And although we're only running one phishing campaign, I'm actually going to add in multiple simulations. So I'm going to add one for Okta, a common piece of security that we use at LRN. I'm also familiar with Dropbox, and then a lot of our organization uses DocuSign. So you can see here, we've got 3 phishing simulations that we've selected. And the reason for that is that we're going to randomize them. So when we push it out to a group, rather than everyone just seeing the same one phishing simulation, it's going to randomize which one appears. So no checking over your neighbor's shoulders to get an insight as to what phishing attack is coming. Now you'll see here by default, it's going to my entire user group, which in this instance is 48 learners. But today, I'm going to actually create a new user group. So let's create a new user group, and this will connect to your HRIS system. So let's call it Monica Group. And what we're going to do is we're going to select anybody whose first name is equal to Monica. Now, a more realistic scenario would be manager, US-based, sales, but essentially you can use these smart filters to create a user group that is as flexible as your organization. So we'll do that. We've just popped in Monica. We'll save the changes, and then you'll see there's only one Monica that falls into our test group here. Now, because I really care about Monica's professional development, if she fails our phishing campaign, I'm going to assign some remedial training. So let's say if Monica enters her credentials, okay, I am going to enroll her in our LRN's flagship phishing course. Now you'll see here there's a whole slew of microlearnings, conversational AIs that you can use for your remedial training. And again, you can choose the behavior, whether it's replying to an email or clicking a link that triggers the enrollment in the training. Let's go with that one. There we go. There we go. Beautiful. And now from here, we can select a due date. So after the training is being enrolled, we've got 30 days after the assignment. If Monica doesn't get on top of her training, I'm going to send her a reminder, and I'm going to CC her boss if Monica's not staying up on top of her training. There's no way that would happen, Monica, with how you are with your training, but you never know. It's a simulation. So I can either set it for a scheduled delivery date if I wanted to catch Monica on her way home, but in this instance, we're going to send it now, and then we'll let the data run for 5 days. So if after 5 days Monica hasn't taken the phishing bait, we can be pretty confident that she has successfully passed this phishing simulation. And then I hit activate, and it is as simple as that. And you'll see Monica's phishing simulation is live and in the system. If she was to go in and fail my sneaky test, it would come through and influence our phishing prone score. Now, just like in English baking TV shows, here's one I prepared earlier. So I'm going to go pop down here, and you can see an example of a real life email that has come into my work account that has been generated through the system. So you'll see here, this is an example of a Microsoft attack. It's telling me that my password has expired, but there's some things that really tip me off that this is not a genuine attack. Well, for one, it's mentioning Okta security, but we've got the Microsoft logo. And then the domain here is onlinenotifications.info, which is certainly highly suspicious. Now, if I hadn't drunk my morning coffee and I was to fall for this and I click update my password, it's going to hit it. And it's going to go through, and it takes me through to a pretty legit looking site. We've got Microsoft there misspelt, another trigger that I really shouldn't be showing my information here. But let's pop in my email address. My current password is A123. Oh, let's get that right. A123123. And then I'm going to pop in a new password. Go. B123. All right, and just like the real one, it's asking me to make sure that I've got some special characters in there. So when I hit continue, Drum roll.
You took the bait.
I took the bait. There we go. It's personalized. It was me, not you, that fell for it, Monica. So I took the bait. Beautiful notification comes through. Again, with some really good in-time suggestions. Check those URLs. Pay attention to what I'm clicking. I certainly didn't on this example. Don't share that personal information. Keep our IT informed if we see something suspicious. Make sure you've got multi-factor authentication switched on. And rule 101, don't click on anything that seems suspicious.
I like that it quickly turns from the negative to the positive, right? You took the bait. It doesn't say you're a dope. Here's what could happen. It just starts giving you coaching, which just flips it to a positive, I think.
I'm glad you make me feel positive about this, but it was all in the effort of protecting our organization. Okay, so when I go in, you've seen the back-end users group, and we can dig into an individual campaign, and we can actually see individual users to identify anybody that has struggled with this particular exercise. But let's say I am that user that failed, and I know fail is a very strong word, was not successful in the phishing attack. When I now go into my learning site, there we go, we'll just click in. There we go. I'm going to go into my training queue. And this is where it gets pretty awesome. You'll see here my mandatory compliance training that I have to take each year. This is unimpacted by our phishing simulation, but down here we've got this new section on phishing specific education. And you'll see I've actually been unsuccessful in quite a few instances. So I have been enrolled in the flagship phishing course. We're hoping that would get me back on track. I've been messing up my password, so I've got another 10-minute remedial training. And then I've got a final piece here around unexpected attachments that I need to go through. So the learning experience is adapting in real time, depending upon how I'm performing this in the phishing simulation, and then assigning the training that I need to alongside without impacting my annual compliance training. So in short, I think what you're seeing is a really straightforward phishing simulation that is highly powerful, but really easy to use. It comes built in with some highly realistic phishing simulations. You can make unlimited customizations. You can roll them out in multiple languages. And then when something does go wrong, you're getting that feedback of what needs to change. And then more importantly, it's rolling you in your phishing education. Phishing training historically has not been the best in the industry, but at LRN, we've really been pushing to bring innovation and create something that challenges the users and gets them to pay attention. But enough from me. Monica, why don't you show the crown jewel and our new phishing education?
Will do, thanks. I love the way it has the 3 levels too. Easy, difficult. So if your organization does well on the easy and you want to challenge them further, you can do more difficult.
You could also use that with, say, like your IT group versus sales, maybe those in business development. They want to have one of the more simpler ones, where there's the advanced, you can say for those more technologically advanced groups.
Right. And actually you could have a competitive element there too, just for fun. Okay, so I'm back where Mark was in my own version, on my own instance of the LRN Catalyst platform, and I'm looking right here at our library. I'm just clicking into the library now. And here I can browse the entire library, LRN's entire ethics and compliance training library. And if I want, I can view this by risk area. So today, let's say I'm interested in looking at data privacy, confidential information security. And as you can see, we have 64 learning assets in data privacy and cybersecurity, confidential information. So what I would like to do, I like a lot of these courses, but I'm going to show you one of my favorites that's really interactive and innovative. And maybe we'll have some fun with it. It's one of our conversational AI microlearnings, and you'll see what it's like in here in just a second.
You're even getting me excited to see this.
I think they're fun. So the learner is now this for you would be branded with your logo, your colors.
Okay.
But the learner will just simply click this arrow to begin, and then we'll start at the beginning.
All right, let's let the audio
Hi, I'm
play.
Lila, your AI mentor. Play the video to find out more.
That's coming through beautifully.
I have a friend named Lila.
You've just received a message from your colleague, Alex. You know him well. You've worked together for a while and often chat about your shared love of jazz music,
That's you and
especially
me.
your favorite band, Starry Blue. He's upbeat, thoughtful, and always adds a personal touch to his messages.
That's not me.
You've always admired his organization and meeting prep. This time, he says he's stuck in back-to-back calls and has attached a zip file that he says he can't open. It contains a brief he needs for an upcoming client meeting. Alex mentions the client is known for being particular about details and asks if you can urgently open the zip file and send back the contents. It seems like a simple favor, but the request feels more rushed than usual. Please talk to Alex and see what you think. As you go through the conversation, consider, where did the brief come from, and why can't Alex open it himself? Does Alex seem his usual self? Can he answer a personal question like the name of your favorite band? Could opening or sending the file pose a risk? Be aware that Alex is powered by AI, so his responses may not always be what you expect. When you're finished chatting, let me know, and I'll walk you through how you handled the situation.
Good luck, Monica. I'm quite nervous for you now.
I'm not. I feel so comfortable that I have this mentor, Lila. I know she's going to help me. All right. So now I'm just going to click the next button. And I'm going to click here to get the conversation started with Alex. Hey, I'm stuck in back-to-back calls. I can't open this attachment. It's a client brief I need for a meeting in 10 minutes, and the client's a stickler for detail. Can you open the file and send it back so I can take a quick look?
That sounds so innocent.
Where did it come from?
Fair question to ask. You're typing so much better than mine.
It's from our client, but I can't share more because it's sensitive info. Just need you to open it quickly for me, please. Why the rush, Alex?
Doesn't sound like himself.
Doesn't like you.
Beautiful.
The client is a stickler for detail. I'm in back-to-back calls. I need it for a meeting in 10 minutes.
Wow, quite the rush.
Alex, I need to verify your identity. I'm in a grouchy mood today. What's your favorite band? You know me. I'm always talking about the Rolling Stones. No jazz music.
No, Rolling
Can
Stones.
you open it for me? Time is ticking. All right. So if I don't know what's going on here, I mean, this is a pretty straightforward one for me. And I think I know what's happening here. There was a great explanation. But if I don't, I've got this option to get help if I somehow missed something. And if I feel like I get this and I've resolved this situation, I can click here. I'm done. Rate my behavior. If I feel like I'm ready
Drum roll. Let's see how you
get
did.
my grade. All right, 9 out of 10. Not too bad.
No,
Did an
you didn't
excellent
flag
job.
it to IT, but that's pretty. You foiled the phishing attack.
Yeah, I didn't talk about reporting it to IT, but generally I get good feedback here. So, and I can always try it again if I feel like I need to learn more on this.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
love this. I mean, I love this because it's something new. It's
Let's
fresh,
take a look
it's
at how you can spot
realistic,
phishing attempts before it's too late.
and it
Sorry.
really, yep. Go
Didn't
ahead,
mean-
Monica.
Didn't mean for that. Go ahead. You love it because it what?
No, I think I was just saying I love it because it's realistic. It's something new, and it's just the right amount of challenging. It's going to adapt based upon those answers that you give you, and then there's some real learning happening here. So I'll pass over to you to look at this. But I always find that learners are so much more receptive to learning when they've had the opportunity to try an exercise like that.
Absolutely. They can put a little bit of their own interaction, their own creativity into those responses. And that was a fun exercise. And, they have my attention. And now we're going to learn some of the, tips to assessing situations like this, because often they're going to be even more disguised than what we saw today.
Yeah.
And this is giving me some great information to consider when I'm in these situations. So I'm learning here. And I've worked this situation a little bit. Now I'm going to have to prove it. LRN's pedagogy is always learn it, work it, prove it. So now we'll have to prove it with this knowledge check. And let's see, this is about an email. It says must be completed. What should she do? Contact IT, I think, in this case.
Yeah, there you go. Your power score is raging up.
Commonly using phishing tactics.
So just while Monica clicks through the
regulation,
quiz,
yeah.
no pressure for getting 80% on this one. Again, the questions here, you could customize those to make them specific to your organization. In addition to all the learning that you're seeing here in this new AI-driven format, we have microlearnings, flagship e-learning courses, all in support of phishing and other key cybersecurity risk areas. So it really is a complete solution from running those phishing simulations, identifying learners that need additional support, and then pushing through and making sure that people are getting the training they need to be effective on the job. Look at this, Monica, 80% and almost
Not
perfect
sure about
score.
this one. Yeah. Contact IT, reported to the appropriate reply, ignore. Let's try that one.
Yeah.
All
There
right,
you go.
80%. There we go. And then, of course, I can print a certificate if I like, since I passed, and I can take a survey, and I can go back and review the ones I didn't get right as well.
Yeah.
Ah, excellent. I love that demo. It was so comprehensive. You really were able to give us all a very deep dive into what the back end of the tool looks like and how easy it is to configure it. I'd love to send some questions your way. I've received some via text, and I believe that we may have some coming in on the chat as well. If you're listening, don't hesitate to pop a question into the chat, and we'll be sure and get to it before we arrive at the top of the hour. One question I had, I was curious about the training and updates. How often does LRN come in and update the tool to keep it fresh and relevant?
Monica, do you want to take that one for us?
Sure. Yes. I mean, LRN is all about freshness, right? I mean, I talk about it all the time with our training. Some things that are the most popular are updated, I say it at least annually, because to be honest, we have multiple versions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more than annual. We have multiple versions of similar things. And then, of course, whenever regulations change, we address those within 4 weeks of the final change in law.
Yeah, what I'd say is at a minimum, everything goes through at least one annual legal update to make sure it's fresh. And then on a quarterly basis, we've got new microlearnings being introduced. So I think last quarter, we as part of the phishing launch, we put out 17 new cybersecurity learning assets.
Oh, okay.
And then within the existing courses, we're always blending in fresh scenarios, challenges, artworks, and videos. So even if you're using the program on an annual basis, it's always going to feel engaging and fresh for those end users.
Now, my impression is that Catalyst Phishing could be a standalone solution, but it's part of the whole Catalyst bundle of
Right.
programs and services.
It is. I mean, with the goal behind Catalyst was for it to be the primary platform for the compliance officers. So rather than having to depend on the CISO or even HR for some of those analytics, it's the one place that the compliance officer can go to see how their program's performing, evaluate where it's been successful, and then make those tweaks on the fly to keep it updated and fresh.
Yeah, it includes about maybe six. I don't know. I'm just guessing about 6 modular solutions. So each of them can be licensed separately, but they're integrated.
They are integrated.
So as you license and grow, all of everything you do with LRN is going to be beautifully integrated. Your analytics, all of your reporting, and it's really, really nice for the CISO and their team to have everything in one place.
Oh, I can imagine. Well, let's move then to sort of the implementation and the configuration.
Just one quick one. We got a question comes in, which I think is actually a really nice one. The information is super interesting. I love the examples on the platform. I was wondering, don't you have any Spanish with the translator? And absolutely, yeah. So our full Catalyst suite has been launched in over 30 languages, and right now we're going through the process of getting all of our phishing assets being ready for a multilingual global audience. So yep, you're absolutely right within the sweet spot, and we support Spanish for both LATAM and Europe.
Outstanding. So back to configuration then and implementation. Do you provide guidance on best practices for rolling this out within the organization and communicating to the employees so that you get their buy-in?
Yeah, so I think we've got a really beautiful piece of technology. It's one of the simplest phishing simulations to configure and deploy. It comes paired up with modern, fresh learning. Some of our peers, it feels a little bit more like it's stuck back in MySpace times. But the real differentiator is the people that support those rollouts. So we have a team of client success managers who are predominantly based here in the US, and then also back in Europe where I'm from, and they are there for onboarding and then meeting on a quarterly basis to look at how the program is being used, make insight and recommendations based upon what the client is experiencing, and then seeing it through so that we have a long-term partnership. Many of the Fortune 100 clients that we work with, we've had partnerships now in excess of over 10 years.
Yeah, I would add to that. There really are the two groups of people who contributed the most to this are, number one, LRN's InfoSec team. They're clients potentially of a solution like this, right?
Sure.
They know what it's like to be on the other side of this, and our chief compliance officer as well. They gave us the push to keep it simple. It's a complicated problem, complex solution is needed, but we need to keep it simple and elegant. And then the other one I would say is what we call VOC, voice of customer. So we have a lot of clients that help us, and we're so grateful to them for helping us to develop our new solutions. And I can see their voices when I look at this solution. When it was rolled out, I could see that it really reflected.
You can see
the
their
voices of
handprints
our
on it
clients.
too. Yeah. I love what you were saying earlier, Monica, about data and about it being actionable and being able to take steps to do things with the insights that you gain from this. What would you say, either of you, what is one metric that you think most companies should be paying more attention to when it comes to phishing resilience?
I can take a look at that one. I think the key one is looking at the propensity to be phished, which is something we've seen for years. But more importantly, looking at how that varies by the demographic of the population. So how are your new hires doing versus tenured? How is your line managers doing versus rank and file employees? How prepared are we for phishing in our audit department versus sales? And then geographically, because a phishing attack can happen at any level in the organization, from an intern that has just had their email set up through to the C-suite. It could be somebody that sits in your head office in DC, or it could be a small operation that you've just opened up in a different part of the world. So I think looking at those phishing scores, but going one step further and seeing how different groups are performing is my key recommendation.
So you've got all of that analytics information at your fingertips, but keeping the human in the loop to actually make sense of
Absolutely.
it and take action. That's key, isn't it? What about scaling and growth? As my organization grows, is this tool easily scalable?
Yeah. So go ahead, Monica. You got
No, I was
about
just going to say LRN has done some of the largest, if not the largest, deployments of compliance solutions at the world's largest global companies, right? Everywhere. We have offices all over the globe, and we have clients all over the globe. We have small clients, SMBs, mid-markets, and many of the Fortune 500. I think about a quarter of the Fortune 500 as clients. So everything we do is built to scale.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I'd add to that, though, like if you looked at LRN historically, they were one of the first movers in the compliance space, and naturally we have had a lot of strong relationships with the Fortune 500, the Global 100. But the real clients that we're looking to service are some of those smaller organizations. So whether you have 100 employees or 100,000, you're still accessing the same great technology and platform. And we value customer success, and the only way you get there is by delivering a wow experience for every customer regardless of their size and tenure with us.
It sounds like the next step is for our viewers to reach out to you directly to book a more personal conversation about how the tool can be tailored to meet their needs expressly. So I will invite our viewers then to reach out to LRN, book a demo, schedule that important conversation. I'm so glad that we were able to have this conversation today for this audience and to go so deep by looking at the video that you prepared. Thank you so much for sharing the tool and your insights today about phishing. Let's all be extra vigilant. Watch out for the Nigerian prince who wants your ATM card. That's still out there. The ones not done by AI that
Those are
are
the classic ones.
the classic ones. At least they're good for a chuckle, aren't they?
Thanks everyone for your attention. Thanks, Mark and Sarah.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
joining. See you next
Take
time.
care. Bye-bye.